Okay, hi. I'm Greg, one of the effects artists here.
Hi.
And this is Aislynn.
Oh, I'm not? Okay. Hello.
Maybe he's... Okay, so in previous streams I've showed kind of like our backwards making of some of the effects. And this one I decided to start from scratch because I just got a concept from Dave yesterday. This is the Templar Ability, which we showed off in our first look at powers in UI, called Divine Light. And it's an AoE blast that will deal damage, it'll heal allies, and also cleanse sin that was applied to them. So Dave concepted this pretty cool, like, yellow damaging light rays with blue particles that will heal and cleanse your allies. So
yeah, it's always the most fun, the abilities that have to do two things that are completely opposite.
yeah, that's a challenge.
How do you make those read?
Knowing like whether that's an ally or enemy ability. Yeah, so like the concept will go a long way, but we still have to animate and like fill in the motion for this. We're not getting like frame by frame concepts. So between this concept and all of these different pieces, and then Doggett's animation, which has two important moments: when the sword is thrusted into the ground for the first time, and then when she like really pushes it down. We need to sell kind of 2 points of impact there. Yeah, so again, this is the popcorn effects editor. I'm not going to get, I mean, it's going to get technical because I'm creating these effects, but I'm not going to explain a lot of things that are specific to this editor. This editor is free to try. Costs $250 for a license in Unity if you did want to give it a shot. But this standalone editor is free to use. All right. So yeah, here's Doggett's animation. Pretty sweet. This is his rough blocked out animation. He showed me a version earlier today that was even more polished, but we're unable to get this one in. You'll see the Templar soon enough though. All right.
Somebody in chat just said Greg is about to make fun of people for the next hour. Somebody get Max in the room.
Am I? Oh my God, I feel like I've expended that because I was so brutal on him yesterday. I mean, what do producers do really? Like, we're all stressed out about this stream and like getting effects done, and I mean, he's in the other room setting up a computer, saying he's stressed out. It's unreal. Like, the second we hire producers, I'm applying for that position because I could use a break myself. He closed the door. He wants to hear it on delay. He's still gonna hear it. Okay, Gordon's here.
Gordon's here.
You're living dangerously.
I love Max. I don't talk about the people I don't like. I really like Max.
Oh.
As Eric said, Eric shit on him his share and then also complimented him, but you can't have the sunny days without the rainy days. Or appreciate the rainy days. Appreciate the sunny days. I'm going to create this burst effect. So, like, the first two things I'm going to do from this concept. So this is kind of like right before she drops her knee and we see that second impact. So I'm going to at least put in 2 bursts so that we could see those 2 moments. And then from there, I'll create these like light rays that shoot out once she drops her knee. So I'm just going to start with a layer. I'll do initial bursts. And then for this burst, like I could use a regular particle, but I'm going to use a smoke texture here, so I have just a little bit more texture in those lines. I may get quiet at moments.
That's what I'm supposed to be here for.
It's a little more difficult to code and talk at the same time, but.
Okay, someone said, oh, my dev team picked up popcorn effects too, but we never got around to use it due to kicking lazy peeps out of the team. Haha. Oh,
that's sad.
How does popcorn effects fare in its area? I mean, in its area as like a effects editor?
Yeah.
It's better than Shuriken.
It is significantly better
no matter
than
what
Shuriken.
Blair says.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of particle engines are like default particle systems in a lot of programs just give you like a list of values that you can tweak. Where in here, you've already seen me like start to manipulate these things through code, and you just get way more control. Like right now, I'm going to create a curve. You get curves in some editors, but I'm going to control like the opacity of the curve based on like its life And right now what I'm telling it is to start off fully opaque and then fade off, because these particles are going to burst once it hits the ground, and I want that to fade off immediately. So let me just put in a color value here first so we can at least see the particles. And I'm also going to need them to stretch. I'm going to need them to shoot outwards, so let me add a velocity here. Right now I'm applying a velocity in every direction. I'm just ramping that up. Let me make this bigger for now. Okay, so right now those particles are moving out, but we're gonna need like some streaks. So I can actually stretch my particles based on the velocity of them. So they're starting to stretch here. Let me do that. Let me crank up the particle count here so we can see what's really going on. And also, we want it to happen all in one frame. So, let's start timing this out. I believe this is at 0.9 when she first strikes. Yeah, all right. So we're getting that, like, that first burst. And, like, there are other things I want to do here. Let me tie in that alpha. Let's do... And then I'm going to sample from that curve. So now you'll see like those particles, I'm going to slow it down, start to fade immediately. And all that's doing is it's applying that value from 0, once the particle is first born, and then once it dies. So it's fading that value from 1 to 0. And I'm defining the life of the particle here too. I have 2 scripts here that get applied at 2 different points. One, the spawner script is when the particle is first instantiated. So it'll take on all of these attributes, and that'll be like global attributes that live on the particle as long as it's alive. And then I have my evolver script here, which gets applied every frame. Since I'm changing the color every frame, I want to put that in the evolver script here. I'm having it sample from a curve. So what was I doing here? All right, I'm going to shrink these. I'm actually going to add a glow value. These are cool global variables that I can reference in any of my effects layers here.
It's global.
Glowable. Oh my god. Pun number 1. I'm going to add a color here too, because I want to get that yellow in here, in that burst, at least initially. So color values are either float 3s or float 4s, storing your red, green, and blue values, and then also your alpha. So I'm going to do a yellow here. So you'll see if I just swap this out, I'm going to get a pure yellow, light yellow particle. And let me put this back on regular speed. Yeah. But what I want to happen is I want it to fade from yellow to white really quickly. And I also want to glow it. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. So it's a little too big right now, but I'm using John's keyboard and it's like smaller and compact, so I keep hitting the wrong thing. It's a little weird. So I'm going to lerp this between a white value over the life ratio. Okay, so now you're seeing it's like initially yellow. I could have used a curve for this too, but sometimes it's just super easy to do with math. So I'd like it, this is where a curve would be useful. To get it to hang yellow a little longer, what I can do is I could throw the life ratio in an exponent. So if you're imagining this curve, it's staying at that first value longer than the second one. So now we're seeing more yellow. Yeah.
Someone was asking about the Roland effect on the Myrmidon and how
That
sometimes
comes up every screen.
how it does. How to not overpower the animation. In our defense, I think that attack was like did a lot more damage whenever we were first making the effects.
Yeah, that was one of his like really spotlight abilities.
Now it kind of just
It stands out, and that'll be adjusted. You know, like It's nice. It's definitely one of those flashier abilities.
The problem is we're too awesome, and we need to tone ourselves down.
John is such.
What?
I don't know how many people play football, but I'm a Packers fan, and our environment artist, John, is a Falcons fan, so he just wanted to taunt me in the middle of the stream because we're in the NFC Championship this week. John and I are in the NFC Championship, and the Packers and Falcons are going to watch us.
When's the last time you cleaned?
I don't know. He probably doesn't drink out of it because it's so precious. Okay, so yeah. I have, what I can also do here, let's see. I'm going to move some of these particles off the center right here. And then just for optimization purposes, like you're going to see these particles are bursting, but they're actually bursting underneath too, which is totally unnecessary. And there are ways I can control the velocity to only go up, but since this all happens on the same frame, what I can do is I can just kill anything that drops below a certain value, and we're killing particles that don't need to exist. Not position. Position Y. So everything that drops below that point -1. Yeah. So now you're seeing those particles are gone. Or they're much less down there than there are up here. Okay, so I have that like initial strike, and I'm basically gonna ramp this up and delay it for the second one. And then we'll at least have our 2 points of impact here. Let's see, we can ramp up the velocity so they go out farther. Yeah. That's using the same color. Life. I could probably ramp up the size a bit. I multiplied everything else by 2, so it just makes sense to ramp that up. Yeah. And I already have that script that's killing everything below, so we're good. Cool, so we're having that more powerful burst on that second one. I'd also like to add a flash in there. This is a little... I'd like to fill that burst just a little bit more. These names are super descriptive. When you're working with flashes and stuff, you just have to come up with some creative names, and burst and flash are what I use. And
boom,
I use
swirls.
boom, swirl, aura. Aura's a good one. I love that word.
I overuse aura.
Yeah.
Because then there's aura, then there's bright aura, then there's fast aura.
Base aura, and then there's the head aura. And
we know what it means, but if we have to deal with each other's files, sometimes it's just we have to turn it on and off and figure out what the hell.
Yeah, you could toggle all these layers and see one of them at a time, and sometimes that's super useful. This one I want to fill more. So I'm not going to use the smoke. Oh, you're going to see that pink when you don't specify a particle. A diffuse mesh. Ramp up how much this scales. Possibly too much. Let me crank down the velocity. And 0.25. All right, so now we're getting that fuller burst. This one might be too full towards the center before it starts moving, so I'm just gonna change when that alpha changes. Again, yeah, this is gonna get a little technical. I could tone that down.
Someone said because the flash is she's disappearing right after the end of the animation, it's like flashbang ninja vanish.
Oh yeah, if she died just a little sooner. Okay, I'm also just looking at that, but you'll see on top of the other burst here that has the smoke texture. Now we're getting a lot more texture in that burst, and that one is living just a little too long because I shortened the other burst. Okay, so with the first burst, now we have our 2 points. And like this is okay for now, but once I have the other effects on, it may be too much, so I'll have to pull it back. Color. Okay. All right, so I'll work on, let's go back to the concept. Normally I have like 2 or 3 monitors, and this is always up on one of them, so I can keep looking back. Off that, those ribbons. I'm gonna go with these light rays here, and we'll stick to that like yellow color and make sure that's all readable before we move on. Light expand. Actually, I could get light growing on the sword on the bottom, like between those 2 phases. That's fine. I'll do the light expand first, and then I'll move from there. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit later. Any questions in chat?
Investor stuff. Someone did suggest a while ago that we need to have a company roast, but
That would
if you're
be awesome.
Max, that's every day.
That is true.
That is true.
That is true.
Or if you're Dave.
I don't know if they've heard him say that is true yet.
Oh, that is true. Oh, no, now I'm saying it. It spreads. I heard Melissa say it.
Yeah, she said it on stream when she was on with Billy. All right, so what I'm doing right now, I'm creating.
Inside jokes are the best to just say randomly.
Yeah, our concept artist Dave says that is true a lot, so that's kind of been the catchphrase of The Office for the past while now, 2 months. All right, let me hide everything else because I can't see this. Oh, also because I have my new burst hidden. Okay, so there they are. I'm gonna need them to move outwards. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use sine and cosine to create a circle shape, but what I need is, I need to use the same code twice, so I'm gonna set up a variable and store what I need in there. And what I'm doing here, actually I don't even need the life ratio in there. I need 2 times pi, which is the full circle. What am I? His keyboard. Oh, I do need that in there. Okay, there we go. Now we're starting to see those particles come out.
Ooh.
There we go. I'm gonna have to set up a radius for this because those bounds may change. So I kind of preemptively like add an attribute for the radius of the field. So when Blair's like, you know, we're actually gonna double or we're gonna have the existing radius, it's just significantly easier to multiply here. I could create a sphere real quick so I can see what like a 5 radius looks like. Most of our fields are like 10, but I'm gonna start with 5.
First time I've ever seen trigonometry used anywhere but a math class.
Yeah, I didn't use it for a while until I started doing effects again. And I was actually a math major before I went back into games. So I have a love for this. I think that's about right. Yeah, okay. So I got that in there. These particles aren't actually going to be visible. I'm using these to spawn the light shapes that are going to fire underneath it. I'm trying to see what I'm going to do here. Oh, by default, that's going to launch all these up in the air. I should probably put a particle on there so we're not staring at this bright pink. Let me do that real quick. And I have all these performance charts here to see like what my particle counts are at. And this is obviously way too much. It's like cranking up to 4,000 particles. And this is looking super bad here, this red, but it's just representative of that layer, which is a different color. But if I move this, it'll change colors and not look as scary.
Oh, that still looks
This red bar up here is scary. Yeah, the total particles. This should be, yeah, pink now.
Oh,
See?
that's a bit better.
Not bad. But that's not going to get in the game. So like even if I get it to be like, you can see it's performant here. Like even though there are that many particles, my computer can handle it. But with everything else going on in the game, other effects, other characters, the environments, especially in an MMO, you have to be mindful of performance.
Because there can be like 20 of those going off.
Yeah,
at once
there
with the
could
same
be 3
5
Templars.
We're all gonna do this now. And then no one could see anything.
Alright, so I am going to do a trick to kill these. What am I doing? Okay. That'll set. So I'll just give this a random chance to be 0. So this is like a very shortened if statement, which is saying that like if ninja is a random value between 0 and 1, just a super short way of writing rand 0, 1. Super useful. Does not explained anywhere in the documentation. I had to actually ask Popcorn, like, hey, I checked out your sample files. What the hell does ninja mean? And it's just 0 to 1, and it's worked. It's awesome. So what this is doing is it's giving me a value between 0 and 1, and if I'm saying if it's over 0.98, actually if that's, I want it to be less than. If it's less than 0.98, make the particle size 0 so we don't see it. There we go. And now I'm getting like way less particles. And then here, my evolver script, I'm gonna have it run a check. Kill if the size is equal to 0. So you're gonna see like I still have my 4,000 particles up here, right in the top right corner, 4472. Once I save this, refresh, now I'm at most getting 200. So it's killing all of those other particles that are getting shrunk down. Let me do light ray spawner. You kind of have to name your layers here so that you can see how many particles are created by each layer over here. So yeah. So I'm going to create these light rays, and I don't want them to go upwards. Yeah, and this needs to happen once her knee drops. So the timing's pretty good. I'm also going to want these particles to stretch.
Oh, here's another question. Still any plans to refine effects so we can see ally and enemy powers at a glance? That's kind of what we were talking about briefly earlier.
Yeah, we started getting tech for that, and we're going to have to do a pass. We're going to have to create some language so that you can see an effect and know immediately whether that's an enemy or ally. I mean, it's not important for every ability, but there are definitely some fields that you're not sure whether your teammate or an enemy casts on it. And whether it's we add something to the existing effect or just change the colors entirely. Overwatch does that really well. Like, if you look at an enemy, like, ultimate ability versus an ally, they're either red or blue, and it's a very clear and easy way to see whether that ability is friend or foe.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I haven't defined that variable. Okay.
Oh, someone else was asking if abilities have a specific color type to them. We kind of do that, especially with each archetype kind of definitely has a color scheme that's for that specific archetype, and then like we have shared language across all things. Like those swirlies are normally a sign of a healing spell.
Yeah, anything that's like like shape and color. Swirly greens and blues are more healing. And
reds and oranges that are sharper, more damaging.
Most of our warmer colors, like the Myrmidon's ability, is like bright orange and yellow. We have for like massive damage. So yeah, there are color language. Each archetype obviously has its own like color theme. And then, like Aislynn said, each type of ability will have its own colors. Somewhat lost my train of thought, but we're fine. I'm going to do the same thing with the color as I did on these bursts. This is code of work, so I'm just going to bring this down here. I just need to add an alpha curve. So I need to stretch these particles, and then they need to die. There we go. All right. So we're starting to see these particles at least change color. They're also living significantly too long. The most important part of this is getting them to stretch. So let me do that now.
Here's another comment, but I feel like it's like tooting my own horn a bit, so...
Go for it.
It's duelist action, best ability, or greatest ability. It's duelist C action, best ability or greatest ability in the game.
Oh, the barrel? Yeah,
barrel.
That's a joint effort between you, Doggett, Greco. That was awesome.
The hat is amazing. Doggett did such a good job on that.
The exploding barrel.
I can't believe that actually happened.
We were in the design kickoff meeting for that, and Blair, Hallish, and Pollard were explaining like all of the duelist abilities, and like something didn't work with the duelist with the burrow because it's like a little tricky to go between the burrow tray. But somehow that came up, and we were all like building off of each other, and like out of it came the barrel, and we're like, well, we need to run it by Todd, and Todd loved it, and there it is. It's in game. That needs to happen more often.
That first painting Dave did was pretty amazing. Whoa!
All right, here we go. All right, so what I did here, let me cut this down. Scene axis. Basically, what I'm telling this to choose a vector that exists already and use that as what I'm stretching it towards. And scene axis up is just your Y. I'm gonna scale that up, so we're gonna see it burst straight up. But we kind of want it to like burst a little bit outwards. So all I'm doing is I'm adding the position to this. And what that is doing is like this axis wants a vector. Up is a vector. It's 0 in the X, 0 in the Z, and 1 in the Y. And the position here is gonna vary based on the particle. So like depending on where that particle is, if it's over here, that's another vector. That's it's 0 in the Y, but it's going to give me a value, a negative X value and a positive Z value. And then it's also going to stretch it along that axis based on the position. So that's why I have that in there. But there's still a few things that I'm not crazy about here. Like I want to see these streaks higher. One at the beginning of their life. Right now they're the same size as soon as they spawn. So like once that streak comes in, it's the same size. So I need that to scale. And then the other thing is I want it to be higher in the middle than it is on the outside. So if I want to adjust the scale based on the life of the particle, I'm going to do that here in like the light ray spawner. And then I have to multiply this curve in here.
I just heard Gordon walk by and just say, I need an emoji for this, and I don't know why, but hearing Gordon say that is kind of strange. Like, very
Gordon
seriously.
comes in for emojis all the time.
I need an
Billy's
emoji.
trying to do UI stuff, and half the time he's making emojis for Gordon.
Oh, God. We have an unhealthy amount of custom emojis
Yeah.
on Slack, though.
Yeah, we do. All right, so already here you're seeing like those light rays. They're starting off small and then they're getting larger. And the other thing I need is for them to be even smaller towards the outside than they are in the center. And the way I have to do that is I have to go up to the original spawner here, and I have to create an axis curve here. I could probably also bring this down. So we're starting a little fainter. Yeah. I'm talking in my own head here. And Aislynn knows not to respond to me.
Just afraid to interrupt. Oh, gosh.
Okay, so like if you remember what this spawner looked like, I already shrunk the particles so we can't see them. But what I need here, now you can see them. What I need to do is like based on how long this takes to get to the other side. I don't know if I actually put in a duration here. No, that's fine. Based on how far it is in its life, I need to pull that value, and the only way to do it is up here. So I am going to store that. I'll call it p-axis for parent axis. Can someone tell me when there's like 10 minutes left? Okay. And then I'll show something else off. Okay, so this variable doesn't exist, so I need to go add it. That's actually just a single value, so. Why don't you want to read it? What's going on?
What's going on? Poor Dave.
All right, let me add that first. Add that, not being used. Can I read life ratio? Oh, because I'm in the spawner. I gotta use the spawner's life ratio. Okay, there we go. All right, so now that's stored in a variable, and then I could go down to the child here, and I could pull that in. I'm gonna create a new variable. 15 minutes, cool. Thank you. Okay, so let me store that in here. So I have a new variable called axis mult, and I'm going to use that to multiply the axis per frame. I need to pull the value per particle from the parent. If I could spell axis right, that would be awesome too. Am I missing something here? No, we're good. We're good. Okay. All right, let me hide this that ring of particles at the beginning here. Yeah. I thought you were gonna do sound effects.
Yeah, I'm dancing and I'm like starting to do stuff like I normally do whenever we're like having like a meeting or something, but then I realize there's a camera and it just makes it like be so much more aware of like not being weird.
I don't know how many viewers there are now, but we had 1,600 earlier.
I hope we don't have. Well, no, I do hope we do.
Yeah, we hope you're watching.
For the stream, we hope you're watching. But for my mental well-being, I'm gonna pretend like there's fewer.
So I'm gonna multiply that there. Okay, there we go. No. Oh, I'm gonna actually also use that axis for the color here. I'm gonna use that axis mult. Oh, I forgot to change that curve value. Okay. So what's actually happening here? What did I do?
Oh, you
oh,
yeah.
There we go. Actually,
Oh, I see.
That's still not fading off. That's because I didn't do what I want to do here. It's just a one curve. So I want... Okay, now I actually want to change this value. So I'm multiplying my color here, but I don't want to do it between 2 and 1. So I can remap those values from 2 to 1 to 1 to 0. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost don't want to mention this because Blair, but James Goblin was asking if we're going to give her mercy wings like Overwatch.
Oh, Blair, don't enable him.
I don't know. We're going to do something much cooler.
We have something cool. I don't know what concept art we've showed off yet. I have this here.
We showed off the slashes and stuff.
Oh, we did show off the slashes.
I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this was like, this is for Holy Warrior that we're going to work on sometime later this week or next week. But yeah, we're going to do this instead of wings. She's going to have like this like glowing, pulsing aura around her. Yeah, I don't know if wings were... I mean, she's got like metal feathers in her helmet, which is awesome.
And the assassin's going to have wings.
Yeah, the
That's
assassin's
their
going to have
thing.
wings. You want to
She's,
take that
like,
away from...
Imbued with light.
Yeah,
Imbued? That's what I tried
it's going to be
say
awesome.
fancy.
I'm like really looking forward to it.
God. She's so much fun already. Like,
Her power tray ability already put together.
let's just go through
Let's
the
just
news
go through
post.
that. Yeah. So you can already see, like, I'm at my point where I'm like fiddling with values here, which I knew at some point I was gonna do. It's just a lot of like watching. I'll also like remove this delay so I don't have to wait for that point. And just seeing like, yeah, I need to get that axis molten. I need to fade off sooner. I got this go to 1. I think that's part of my problem here. I'm not giving it enough time to fade off. There we go. Now it's fading. What happened there? Okay. I may have to tweak the number of particles getting deleted there, but that's fine. Okay, we got about 10 minutes left, so let me just wrap this layer up. I thought I was going to start on those ribbons in the concept, but I did spend a lot of time with these light rays, which are still way too big. I'm not sure what value I got to tweak here. All right. I'll just bring this down for now. I think they're sticking a little too far outward, so I can like... And maybe it's living a little too long. And I've been staring at this too long.
Yeah, that happens a lot. You just keep looking at something playing on loop every second. You're like, does this look good or terrible or...
Of course, this lined up with like the red layer here, so this is all looking absolutely horrific up here. So, but it's like, it's not even getting into like, it's not even changing shades of green. It goes from green to yellow to red, but we're super in the clear right now. And I'll have to like check with every other layer. And then usually I'll have to go back and like cut particle counts where I can. But I think this is a good place to show off where I am right now on this ability. So yeah, let me pull that up. It'll still need some of these like greater yellow blurred out pieces here and the ground projection, but without that, I wrap this up. What is going on?
What?
Oh, I know what's going on.
Oh.
Yeah, I had the debug mode on. So there is her light burst with the ribbons, the light rays looking way better than I had them there because I was tweaking values, and I got to that point where I wanted to be here. And I started creating those blue particles there. We're seeing we're still in the clear here. Things are pretty performant for what's going on here. And you'll see like I have a lot of those pieces. Let me put this in slow motion. So at first strike, I have light building around the blade, these inner ribbons building up, which kind of like sell the anticipation of the burst when she drops her knee. But yeah, this is where we are now. And Templar's fun. We had our effects kick off the other day, and I mean every archetype we do, we've been like raising the bar. And I mean Eric's been doing it, the animators have been doing it, and now we gotta give some of those older archetypes from 2 summers ago some love. All right, I'm getting cut off, but
John just made a really scary gesture.
He's gonna cut my neck.
No, he's saying wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Oh, that's wrap it up.
I mean, and he probably did that so we wouldn't mention it, like it was a silent cue, but then we talk about it anyway.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, I'm wrapping it up.
Great at live.
So this is the Templar. Thanks a lot, guys. This was Effects, Divine Light on the Templar.